Hi everyone. So just a quick video here offering you a brief introduction to what is obviously one of the fundamental areas of study for both English and communication, so no matter which of my courses that you're on, and that is the study of literature. So, obvious first question, what do we count as literature? Well, broadly speaking, it's creative writing is that kind of category. So poetry, drama, prose fiction like novels and short stories. Those are the kind of standard things that you would have seen before that you might have studied in school under the headline of literature. There is also a kind of fourth area, which is prose non-fiction, which is something that we will look at in most of my classes. So that's the form of writing that kind of sits in between personal writing and say persuasive writing. It's where people write about things that have actually happened, quite often things that have actually happened to them, but it's not written in a factual style, it's written in a more sort of creative, expressive, literary style. So we look at that kind of material as well when we're studying literature. In terms of how it's studied, this is something that comes up every year when I sort of meet my classes for the first time and I ask them how have they studied literature in the past when they were at school. And very often, what you find is that people kind of feel as if, certainly when they've been doing maybe national fives or hires or those kind of things before, that it's been a case of being given, here's the poem, here's a set of notes, here are all the things you're supposed to know about it. Go away and write an essay, or sit in front of us and write an essay. That's not how it's going to work. The study of literature will depend always entirely, at least at first, on you reading the material. Nobody's going to read it for you, and I am not going to be handing out sets of notes which explain everything about the texts either. So you really genuinely are going to have to read the material, and if you want to study literature properly, if you want to really understand what you're reading and be able to use it, and I suppose ultimately be able to do well in exams at the end of this, then you need to be rereading the text as well. It's not enough to read something just once or twice in the few weeks when we start working on it. You need to be reading things constantly as we go through the year. As we're doing that, there'll be discussions going on. Now, those might be discussions that happen in the sort of small tutorial groups that we run. There could be discussions between yourselves. There might be discussions that I start on the Microsoft Teams groups that are kind of online, almost like message board discussions. But these are the kind of processes that get you to actually think about the literature that you're reading. And that's important because of the fourth bullet point there, you're going to have to create your own notes for all the texts that we do. As I say, I am not handing out sets of notes that give you, line by line commentary on the poems. I'm not handing out sets of notes that give you all the key quotes from the short stories with the appropriate analysis. That just isn't how this works. I will give you as much support as you need in order to produce your own notes, but you will need to produce your own. And it's that process again which is actually important in terms of you fully understanding what it is that you're reading and then being able to access that information so that, for example, if it comes up in an exam question, you're able to actually think about it for yourself and answer exam questions or produce essays when you need to, whatever it happens to be, so that you meet the assessment standards, or in the case of National 5 and higher, that you get the highest marks possible in the exams as well. So what we're aiming for is knowing the texts, which means understanding what happens in them. It means understanding the themes. It means being able to analyse the language for yourself as well. What we're not doing here is basically is teaching you the answers. I'm not teaching you an essay that you're going to learn off by heart and go into the exam. I'm not, as I say, handing out big sets of quotations from which you'll lift a few and then change the analysis into your own words and away you go. I will be expecting everybody to do this properly, because if you do it properly, for those of you with an exam to sit, I absolutely guarantee you'll get much better marks at the end of this. You can trust me on that. For the people who are doing the communication courses, you're all people who are looking at access to university. For the most part, to do things like social science subjects, you need to learn how to read and process and think and then form arguments and write things down properly yourself. So it's important to remember that we're looking to get you to understand how to engage with and analyse a text fully and properly, not just shovel answers towards you that you're going to memorise. How is the assessment of that done? Well, we get critical essays obviously in the exam for National 5 and higher. There are critical essays as part of the assessments for the communication courses. Higher and National 5 have Scottish set text analysis to do, which I'll go into more detail with for them. But that's basically a textual analysis paper in the exam, but it's based on a text that we've studied. For people in communication courses, there's a textual analysis as well, but it's not based on a text that's been studied. So it's an unseen text, but that assessment is done under the kind of normal open book conditions for the communication courses, so it's quite different anyway. So different ways of looking at it. The main one though, the one that will take up a lot of focus through the year, will be getting you good at producing critical essays, planning them for yourself, selecting your own evidence, developing your own analysis and your own argument all the way through it. So that basically is how literature is going to be dealt with in the English and communication courses. But more information to come about particular ways to go about reading different texts and individual videos on different poems, short stories, prose, non-fiction pieces as well. As usual, any questions, any issues, just send me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.